Hello everyone, this is Dean Kelley again with the Georgia Transparency Coalition, and we're here today with Robert McDonald, and he is a candidate for the new Walker County Board of Commissioners, and he is running in District 1, which is the general area around the north end around Rossville. And as most of you know, Walker County is moving from the sole commissioner that we've had since before World War II to a 5-member Board of Commissioners, which are 4 districts. And then there's a chairman that is at large, and Mr. McDonald is running for District 1, which will be representing the north end again around the Rossville area. Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being here. Robert's running as a Democrat, so he won't be on the, well, he will be in the primary, but he'll be on the Democratic primary. And I guess as of right now, you're running unopposed, aren't you?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Unopposed. So if you would, just tell the voters out there that may not know you a little bit about you, what's your background, where you come from, and who are you generally?
Well, I've been in Walker and Catoosa County all my life. In about mid-'80s, I moved to Catoosa County, and then in 2005, we moved back to Walker County, and we've resided here since. I've owned property in Walker County just about as long as I can remember. I lived in Walker County and owned property in Walker County all my life. But I worked for the Ringo Post Office 37 years.
Wow.
And I happened to live in Catoosa County for about 20 years over there. And when we moved back to 2005, I worked up to, I believe it was 2014 or 15 when I retired. And I've always been a student of politics. I've always voted, taken somewhat part in it, in just talking politics, which is not a very popular subject a lot of times.
That's true. That religion, right?
Yeah. But I think I still have a lot to learn about politics. I've been involved in labor unions for more than 50 years. It's something I believe in. It's something I believe America is where it's at today because the labor unions help bring it to that point. I know there's a lot of negativism when it comes to labor unions, but when you get to know the people and the workings of it, it's no worse than any other organization. It still has a main theme of what it's trying to do is to help working people. And working people is what keeps this country alive.
Yeah, my father was a Teamster.
Well, I'm a retired Teamster and a retired postal worker. But what concerns me the most in America today is one party being so much stronger than the other, because once we have that, you really can't have a good debate. One side just doesn't get a very loud voice. The Democratic Party, as I grew up and I've come into the workforce, was the predominant party. It was stronger than the Republican by far. And as the generations changed and things changed, electronics and such as that advances, and the generation that's here today is not used to what I grew up in. I'm 71 years old, so I've seen a lot of history in my lifetime that those folks, it's going to be a while before they experience such as that, the death of a president, the assassination of a president. I hope they never see that and live through it. A war that we finally had to withdraw from. The aftermath of that and the people that participated in that war were treated pretty shabbily.
Yeah, and we're still seeing the results of that.
Yeah. And it just should not be that way. But as far as the local goes, I worked in my first campaign when I was about 11 years old with my dad, and he was helping with Albert Campbell's campaign. He was running for what was just termed as commissioner then of Walker County, and he was successful in it. He won. But he became a one-term commissioner because of the decisions he made, and it was decisions that had to be made and things that had to be done. but it cost him at the next election, and he knew that, but he knew that he couldn't let, his priority became putting a roof on a courthouse as opposed to fixing some potholes, and that went against him because he, back then, they looked at it as road commissioner, not just
Right.
commissioner. They just determined, well, you're just the road commissioner, when actually he had many other duties, of which was to keep up the assets and properties of the county. And because the roof was bad on it and the documents was in dire needs, you know, there was under a threat of the weather there, then he chose to spend all that money on the roof and didn't have the money left, and he didn't have any money when it ended. He just like it was in the last cycle. There just wasn't any money there to do with.
Right.
And things had to be done that the general public didn't see.
Right.
And I was for a board of commissioners many years ago. It's not just something that come over me all of a sudden. But in that, and into that, as I worked in Catoosa County, and Catoosa County and Murray County at the same time had on their ballot to go to a commission, board of commissioners, and they both voted it in. Well, 4 years later, they had it back on their ballot, and Murray County voted to go back to a single commissioner, and Catoosa didn't.
Right.
Well, Murray County still has one commissioner, and there's still a board in Catoosa, and I know that board has been in turmoil at different times, and getting a black eye in as far as the public's concerned. But all in all, when you look back on it, that board of commissioners has been good for Catoosa County.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have one great advantage over Walker that we can't do anything about, and that's the interstate system.
Right.
They have the interstate system, generates a world of sales tax, and Walker County doesn't enjoy that. But Walker County does have some other things that's going to be my priorities. First and foremost is going to make sure that the Board of Commissioners is still here 4 years from now.
Yeah.
That's
why this transition is so important. We got to make sure that it's successful. Because this transition, these first couple of years are going to be the most difficult.
That's right. And that leads into my decision to run. If Rossville and Chickamauga had been, or just Rossville, we'll say, Rossville and Chickamauga will have the first 2-year terms. Right. But just looking at it from the Rossville standpoint, which I'm involved in, if it had been a 4-year term, I'm not sure I would have decided to run, because I'm 71 years old. That would have put me at 75 by the time I finished that term, and that just didn't seem all that great to me. But I can take 2 years of it. Mm-hmm. I don't care what they throw at me.
Yeah, and of course after that, it'll be 4 years. Just make sure our viewers
and then
understand.
If I'm still healthy and feel up to it,
you'll run again.
And then I've done a good
then
job.
Then you'll be 80 when it's, or close to 80.
Yeah. And I've done a good job. I feel like I can.
Well, we have a president that's 70, so you can certainly serve as commissioner in your 70s.
That's what gets me. All these people are clamoring about all these old white men, and that's all we got to vote for.
Yeah, that's all what's running, right? Yeah,
it's all these others are great. Get in.
Yeah, it's funny.
You know, because I've seen a lot of young people that can sell me on voting for them if they just get in. They won't get in. They've got other things to do, and their career is more important to them. They don't want a career in politics, and I can understand that too.
Exactly.
But in that first 2 years, I'm going to break that down kind of in the first 6 months. I feel like in the first 6 months, no matter what the results is, there's two things for sure. 80% of the Board of Commissioners is going to be brand new.
Yep.
And maybe 100%
could be 100%
brand new. We don't know yet. But even at 80%, there's 4 out of 5 that's really going to be lost by on high weeds for a while.
For a while.
And I'm going to be one of them. 'Cause I don't want anybody to think I have any great big knowledge or secrets of any kind that I can draw, or rabbits I can draw out of a hat for each issue that comes up. The only thing I know for a fact is in the first 6 months, I intend to put everything on the table. I don't care what it is. The vendors, the people that the county government has to buy from, the assets of the county government, the liabilities of the government, the human resources, everything's going to be on the table. Being in the labor movement as many years as I had, that's one of the things I'm going to look at. I've seen through my career in the labor movement where you really had to look at the different situations and the people involved to really come to a decision, and sometimes you had to dig and get that information. It wasn't readily available. And I'm not going to be dependent on some person walking in there that's an expert, and we all know what an expert is. That's a guy in a suit
100 miles away, carries a briefcase.
with a briefcase from out of town, and I'm not in for that. I'll certainly seek out their advice, but it won't be the only advice I seek. And I'm certainly not a yes person. If there's 2 or 3 or the other commissioners that's yes, 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 then that's time for me to think, whoa, wait a minute. Before I vote yes on this, I better dig. This is happening too fast.
Yeah.
Slow government, the wheels and gears of slow government turn very slow, and that's for a good reason. Because if you make these snap decisions when you're dealing with other people's money and livelihoods and their dependence on you to see that their business is taken care of, you're more likely to make some bad decisions. So I just got to sleep on it a little bit.
Well, yeah, it impacts everybody's life. Plus, I think the budget in Walker County is around $22 million. I think it is. So that's like a good size corporation.
Yes.
And there's never enough money. I mean, politicians never get all the money they want. They never can do everything they want to do. So you have to prioritize where that money is being spent. Now, you being in District 1, the one of the complaints I have heard for years is that there's not enough money invested on the north end. Not enough T-Splosh money, not enough Splosh money gets spent up there. Seems like people tell me that all the money seems to be spent in Chickamauga and Lafayette. Is that a concern that you have, being from District 1?
Well, as long as we get our fair share, that's all I intend to see that happens. And I also know that there'll be issues that come up that cannot wait.
Yeah.
It may be a road giveaway or a water main break or whatever it may be in Chickamauga, Lafayette, or Lookout Mountain, or in the south end of the county, that has to be seen to, and it might take away from some other projects that.
And we've had some of that. We've had some issues with our water and things like that when Tanner first got in office.
The water is still an issue.
Yeah, still an issue.
It's going to be for several years because it's been neglected. So
for so long.
Yeah. So something's got to be done about the water situation.
At the time when Shannon first took over, I thought our water authority was our one shining star that we had, and then we find out that it was basically falling apart.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know it.
Well, I go pretty far back in the water company. I worked for the water company when I was in high school, or when I was in school, and my dad was over the Fairview water system. At that time, it was a Fairview water system and a Chattanooga Valley water system. And while Dad was in there, they had a bond issue and put in more water lines around Fairview than this right where we're at now, and got the water system in pretty good shape as far as increasing the size of the lines and planning for subdivisions that they figured would be coming online and what have you. Well, later on, Flintstone and the Chattanooga Valley water system was in pretty good shape as far as water, but then they wanted to get into the sewer. And sewer is a bigger animal.
Yeah.
Because there's really no opportunity in the sewer hardly to get a payback. or at least keep you solvent. So they started putting in a sewer first project over there, and the contractor went broke. And it just kept going till finally, that's when that helped bring about the merger of the Chattanooga Valley water system and the Fairview water system, and created a Walker County water system. And it's just to get that now the hole.
Yeah.
Because the assets we had over in Fairview helped save the one in Flintstone, which is a good thing. Everybody had good, cheap water then. But then they still didn't, as the years went on, that still wasn't enough. Well, I don't know exactly what happened. You just hear a lot of things, but there just wasn't enough put back to see for future developments and stuff. And it's got the system and shape it's in today, and that's got to be addressed, and soon. Another thing is all assets, the buildings and what have you of it, and the repair they're in, and what it's going to take, and it appears to me that there's a lot of county property that really needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
About whether it needs to be disposed of or utilized or leased or whatever we can do to it to get it back into some kind of income producing.
Yeah, turn it into an asset, or we need to sell it and get rid of it.
Yeah, instead of a liability. And I think it takes several months to really get a handle on all that. I mean, if I was getting re-elected and already had this knowledge in my head, I could just rattle this off, but I don't. And I don't care who the other three commissioners is, they don't either.
That's right.
So it's going to be
There's definitely going to be a learning curve.
A sharp one. It's going to be about a 90 degrees for me. That's about how fast I'm going to have to make the switch, because I've been retired 4 or 5 years now, and I'm going to have to get up and get busy.
Yeah.
And I've not had to get up and get busy every day, and that's another thing. It's designed where you would think at $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, you're going to meet once a week, and that's $250 a week. Anybody that thinks that's the way it's going to be is just, and I'm not talking about just myself, I'm talking about everybody that's running.
That's right. They're going to definitely earn their money, and when they calculate it by the hour, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. If they're doing that, if they're going into it with that, they're going in for a very rude awakening.
Yeah, because you're going to be getting phone calls in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and you're going to be dealing with people probably on a daily basis.
Yeah, and especially in the Rossville district. I pay taxes on 8 or 9 pieces of property now, and believe me, I watch what they go, because when it goes up a little bit, mine goes up a lot. So, I'm kind of keen on those taxes, and taxes is really the lion's share of what the county functions on. But there's other things too, sales taxes and such. But if we go and attract more people, more businesses, our taxes has to be fair, and the money has to be spent fairly. There again, we're going to have to do something that makes Walker County a destination, just as Dollywood makes Sevierville a destination. We won't be able to do anything like that overnight for sure, but we do have some things. I would really love to see Mountain Cove Farm become a destination, whether it be operated by the county or leased to somebody else that can make it happen. At least make it a destination, because it's so far out in the country. It's got to be something that's really attractive.
That's right.
To get people to drive.
It is beautiful down there, but it's there's not a whole lot to do down there to keep people down there, other than just the view, and then you drive back.
Yeah, and you can drive by and get the view and not stop.
Yeah.
If you so choose. So there has to be, and they've had several events down there that's drawn some crowds, but it needs to be something on an annual basis, I think, that we can get to going.
How do you think, that, since we're on that subject of Mountain Cove Farms, also that development on Lookout Mountain, which is formerly Canyon Ridge, which is now McLemore. Of course, I know they've invested millions in the golf course up there, Dwayne Horton and his group of investors. And I haven't been on that golf course since they reopened it. Of course, I know it's private. And of course, I don't think they've broken ground on the hotel up there yet. But do you think that's a good project? Of course, that's private money. That's not government money. Of course, private money can invest their money wherever they want to. I'm hoping that will be a success for Walker County when it finally comes to fruition.
Well, my hope is that there's the people that's investing in this has done a lot more homework than I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Because at the first blush, it makes me wonder who's going to drive to the top of Lookout Mountain to play golf and stay at an expensive hotel and eat an expensive meal,
Yeah.
unless there's something else going to draw them there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one other thing else that would draw them there, which I don't know if this county is ready for that, and the state's not ready either, and that's gambling. And from the proposals that I've read about, there was only going to have 3 sites in Georgia for casinos.
Yeah, if they get it done.
Yeah, if they went that route. And the likelihood of Lookout Mountain getting one is pretty slim.
Yeah.
So we really can't bank a lot on that. We're going to have to do some of our own homework and come up with something that we can offer. I mean, you look at LJ and Blue Ridge and such as that, and they've had some very good successes over there with the train and different annual events that they have over there. And there's just got to be something. There's just too much history in this area not to take advantage of it. We got the Chickamauga, Chattanooga Military Park, the largest military park in the system, as I understand it, land-wise. And most certainly there's history down there that's just unbelievable.
You know, that's a good point, too, because I don't feel like that we really utilize that asset enough. I don't know what the answer is, but that's something that needs to be looked at, is Walker County certainly does not take advantage of that military park at all.
And I took my little nephew over there the other day for a tour or something, and my dad and uncle had always talked about Mr. Marsh, I can't think of his first name right now, and he was born in slavery, and he lived on the park till he died, and they had got a little book over there about him, and I bought it and read about him a lot, learned more from it than Dad and my uncle shared, with Dad. But it's just that little tidbit of history right there, it's unbelievable. But, that when you read that little biography of him, it just opens your eyes to what a great person he was, even though he was born into slavery, and he was a slave in the Civil War. He was, how he came to the Chickamauga Park was his owner brought him there, and he helped bury the dead after the Civil War.
Wow.
He knew, he talked about knowing where the bones was buried.
He literally knew where they were, didn't he?
Yeah, he literally did. But I just hope that the county they can see that the Five Board Commissioner is the best way to go, not just this year, but in years to come.
Yeah, like I said, the transition is going to be real important. Of course, Walker County is a very large county. It takes an hour to drive from one end of it to the other. It just seems to make natural sense to me to have a board of commissioners as opposed to a sub-commission. What are going to be your priorities at the north end for Rossville in that area?
Well, I want to do something about put it in the nicest way I can, the flooders. And the ordinance that was passed last May certainly needs some tweaking. I've had some first-hand experience with it. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've not got anybody to agree with me on the other side of the issue yet, it leads basically to condemnation, the way they're going about it now. And they can argue all they want to, but I can prove to them on paper where it's condemnation of some properties. We just had a building burn there in
Rossville. The Mercer building, yeah.
Well, what's that going to be? The other building that fell in, or was it $100,000 to clean it up? Well, they overcome what the properties were, so that's condemnation. Of course, it had to be cleaned up. I understand that.
Yeah.
And the safety issue come into play. But As far as my priorities for the Rossville area is to get the people up and in it and working. It doesn't matter who you put in office if you don't have the community or the voters behind you and to do the work. Because the politicians is just, they're going to ride around a convertible and try to get more votes. The people that's out here in the trenches is the ones doing the work. That's what it's always been. That's what it's always going to be. We work and pay the taxes. We work and do the cleanup. And until that happens, the county's going to have to do something on this end to see that the people of Rossville, in Rossville, I'm not just talking about City Hall and a few streets around it. I'm talking about
the north end,
the whole district of Rossville. We've got to make them well aware of what the whole district encompasses, and working with the city council, because it is Rossville and they touch a good portion of that whole district, is going to be very important. That they see Rossville growing and involved, then it's going to spread out.
Yeah.
And then hopefully if Rossville does, then that we'll have Rossville will come back to be an economic engine like it was when I was a child.
Yeah, 30 and 40 years ago. I went to Rossville High School. Well, of course, Rossville is the gateway to Walker County.
That's true.
You know, it's the gateway. So when first impressions you get of Walker County is when you come through Rossville.
That's right.
Just like, Catoosa County, it's I-75. That's the gateway to Catoosa County. And like you said, we don't have an I-75.
Yeah.
So that's very important for Rossville's future. But anyhow, time flies. Mr. McDonald is running District 1. I'm sure you'll be hearing from him in the very near future, and hopefully he'll sit down with us sometime again, and we'll finish this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.